Yeah, thanks everybody for coming. This is part of a series of events that we're doing called GRC at 3. The Global Regeneration Collab is now over 3 years old. David Hodgson and a few brave individuals kind of stood it up. I think it was in September 2019, just before the pandemic, so that everything was converted into Zoom only during the pandemic. But the question has been a little bit like what's happened, and we're trying to go back and talk to people that were engaged in GRC activities during the past and see what kind of what they've done. What progress has been made, what kinds of things they've run into, what's been easy, hard, good, bad, all that kind of backstory. And I think one of the kind of broad questions is in my head anyways, is this what accelerating a regenerative future looks like? Are we doing it? Should we do it better? What do we change? Kind of how do we that's our goal. How do you know when you're doing it? Kind of is the question. So and Lauren has been brave enough to volunteer to talk about regeneration pollination, which was one of the things that kind of blossomed out of the GRC soil. And it's been going for more than 2 years. And so she has actual stories to tell about practice and work on the ground. So with that kind of background, let me turn it over to you, Lauren. And if you could give some introduction to yourself, I think, as well as the slide deck for regeneration pollination, that'd be great.
Sure thing. I almost forgot. I should talk about myself, I suppose. But okay, just give me a second. I'll get the slides together. All right. Okay. So regeneration pollination. I guess I could start with myself. So well, actually, maybe I'll get into that to the next slide. So regeneration pollination, we got our very humble beginnings in April 2020. And regeneration pollination was started as a kind of a brainstorm between a bunch of the different members from the GRC, including Dave, Hannah Apricot Ekberg, I think Bobby Fishkin, and a couple other folks about how do we connect people together and maybe offer some kind of a networking event. So they had their first event in April 30th. And I found out about regeneration pollination through Hannah. I used to coordinate the Northern California permaculture convergences and the Building Resilient Communities convergences in California back in the, let's see, sometime between like 2010 and 2016. So in that time frame, there were several of them that I worked with her on, and I just saw her post on Facebook of all places. And I just happened to be at a moment in time where I was like ready to network, because I knew that was the way for me to connect to more people. And ideally at the time, I was also like, I want to meet more people in Europe that maybe similar field that can maybe point me in a direction to where I'd like to take my career, and meet other people working in similar area around regeneration and environmental issues. And so I saw her post and I was like, this is exactly what I want right now. And so I contacted her, and I also was thinking about, well, how do we get the word out to more people? More people should know about this, right? So that's sort of where it got started. I got involved in June of 2020, and I've been involved basically ever since. I just realized I totally forgot to put on here something really important, but I'll get to that. And the fact is that Regeneration Pollination is a nonprofit. We've been a nonprofit now for a little over a year. We're fiscally sponsored nonprofit by Inquiring Systems, and they're a member of the GRC, and they also fiscally sponsor the GRC, and they're one of our partners as well. So our mission is to connect, encourage the world's regenerators. We exist to cultivate, cross-pollinate, and celebrate the global regenerative movement for the weaving of our people, planet, and future. And I'll get into more about like why we're doing this. But if you've never been to one of our events, our online networking events, we have them 3 times a month. We started out offering them 2 different times, and then we eventually, with growing partnerships, we're able to offer a 3rd time. So we have our events are on the first Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 3rd Fridays at 5 p.m. Pacific, and 4th Fridays at 9 a.m. UTC. Their first hour is meant for kind of speed networking. one-on-one random sessions with different people from around the world. The second hour is more of like open space where people can bring topics of interest. And you can also dive deeper into conversations that you had with people that you connected in the first hour. Now, we basically saw that a lot of people are kind of working in isolation, and there's a lot of siloing that's happening in the greater regenerative movement. And we thought, well, what is a way that we can kind of bring cohesion to and get people to raise the visibility of all these amazing projects and people that are working around the world? Because of the pandemic, we were in this like prime opportunity to get online. It just so happened, and people were working online, and being online is such a great way to connect people globally. There's, of course, lots of value and importance of having more place-based in-person work. But we saw that there was a real opportunity to really connect people together from around the world. We talk about it, that we want to connect people across time zones, sectors, and cultures, really diversifying the kinds of connections that are possible, and to help bring valuable resources to these projects. And we see ourselves as a way to increase the flow of information and resources and ideas, et cetera, to the movement. So kind of like in the mycelial web, me and Dave were talking about this, and I was saying regeneration pollination is kind of like dark matter. We're the energy, we're the thing that helps the mycelial connections like flow better. We're not the mushroom, we're not the actual mycelial net, we're not the soil. GRC is probably more of the soil, but we help with our events create more flow and connection. I also lovingly say, like, we're the watering hole that people can come and connect and meet and get what they need, and then go back into the world, into their communities. And so to date, which has been really great. So we've been around now for about like 2.5 years. We've facilitated over like 10,000 one-on-one connections. We've had over 1,600 people come to our events. And now it's like over 80 countries have been present at our events. And that's been awesome. And we've had up to 75 events total. And it's been absolutely fabulous. But our events wouldn't be made possible without our wonderful partners. And some of our partners are here on the call. Our partners really help make our events possible, and I'll go into a little bit about, but many of our partners have come to our events and have attended, and they're like, how can I support? How can I get more involved? And there are a lot of different ways that our partners have been able to support us. So as if you've ever been to one of our events, and if you haven't, I encourage you to come and go to our website to find out more information, regenerationpollination.earth, where you can check out our calendar. So many of our partners help host our events, either as an MC or doing Zoom tech. It's an opportunity for our partners to share a little bit more about their work as well. And many of our partners who host love doing it. And our partners who host also help us get like our event that we have at 9 a.m. UTC, 7 p.m. Eastern Australia time. That's typically facilitated by Morai Gamble or Brian von Herzen or Carolina Carvalho. And the three of them, because of the time availability for where they are, we're able to offer this event. And it's really made possible because our partners are able to steward that time. So we totally are generously supported by our partners. And I forgot to mention this before, but our organization is volunteer run, and it's through our loving support from our volunteers that we're really able to produce our events. Other ways our partners help us is by calling our pollinating partner. Our pollinating partners help us spread the word. The idea of cross-pollination, it's not just about the cross-pollination that can happen at our events, but it's also about the cross-pollination that happens when our events are known by as many people as possible, to have them come and connect in our space. So our partners help promote in their channels, social media, on their website, newsletters, and that helps diversify the kinds of connections and potential resources and exchange that can happen at our events. You can obviously donate. Because donating helps with every little amount of money that's able to come in, we're able to support, and ideally, eventually we can have, and I'll share it in the following slide too, be able to have eventual paid staff to help us run our events. because it's pretty much volunteer based. You can also, as I said here, as a volunteer, be a volunteer, and our volunteers help in different capacities. We have our volunteers help with fundraising, social media. They can help contribute in different ways too, different marketing strategy, etc., and helping with research. You can also be a sponsor, both financially and in kind. And we have lots of sponsorship at the moment through like GRC and ISI, Inquiring Systems. We also got a grant from Regen Network last year, and that helped us get our new website together. So if you haven't been to our website, if you go there now, that was help from the funding that we got from Regen Network. And you can also become an advisor. And our advisor, our planning committee, we meet about twice a month. And that's where we kind of go over our events and do evaluation. And we also come to, if there's any big changes and big decisions in terms of the direction and visioning, we talk about that in our advisory meetings as well. So a lot of ways and opportunities for partners to get involved. But like I said, it's because of our partnerships that our events are really made possible. So what is next for Regeneration Pollination? Sorry, I haven't had a chance to look at the chat, so I can't open it at the moment, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to interact with people after I go over what's next. So what's next for Regeneration Pollination? We need to fundraise as a volunteer-run organization. Unfortunately, that isn't regenerative. It's not even sustainable for us. So we're looking at how can we raise the funds to support ourselves so that we can actually have staffing to help us, like with our marketing communications, to help with our fundraising, to help with our event management and partnership and community building. We want to reach out. We want to continue to grow partnerships. So develop maybe even strategic partnering with different groups that maybe have a larger reach around the world. So we're always looking to find other partners, eventually create content that we can share with people for like best practices, how to, run events like this. I think we're going to be also looking at having more themed events. We're actually going to be piloting one next month that's going to be themed around solar punk. So we have, like I said, we offer our main events around our global events, the first, third, and fourth Fridays. So we have the second week of the month free. So we're going to use that second week as a time to try out different types of events, which we did do actually in August. We had our first bilingual event. So I think we're going to look at doing that annually, and that was for French English. And we're going to try to do a Spanish English one, I think next year too. There's always the option of doing another time to support people who can't make the times that we already have that are like for the Americas. And we only have one that technically really works for people, I'd say like in the Middle East and India. So maybe having another time zone span, but that can only really happen unless there's someone who can steward that time. There's the option of maybe doing regional regeneration pollinations. So we potentially might be having a regional one. I don't want to say much about it now, but we may be offering a regional one coming soon in the next year that can really help steward and bring together people on a regional basis that might be not connected yet around regeneration. And then the other option too is about offering these types of pollination events as a revenue source for communities, businesses, and organizations and foundations. And we've tested this out so far just in terms of like another model for having a pollination event. For Regen Network, we hosted an event for the grantees, grant recipients. So it's definitely something that we see as something that's viable, and how to bring more people together and cross-pollinating within an actual organization or community itself. And we may also be testing this out to cross-network pollination as well. So lots of potentials around what's down the road. And obviously all of this can only be possible without some generous support from people. So yeah, so that's what we've got going on. So Dave, I guess this would be an opportunity. I think I'll stop sharing for now. I have one more slide, but I can show that at the end. So I'll stop sharing and we can open the floor for the many folks that are present, all 14 of you, if you have any questions.
Well, I've got a, so has anybody that's here not been to a Regeneration Pollination yet? Is everybody familiar with the event? Anybody? Okay, great. So we're all experienced people here.
So it
Um,
looks like Jacob is a newbie.
Jacob's okay, excellent. All right, well, get on the calendar, Jacob. You gotta show up. So I mean, Lauren, what I guess I'd be curious a little bit, kind of like, what's your like, what do you find exciting about running these things? You're the one who puts the most blood, sweat, and tears into these things. I mean,
Mhm.
the rest of us volunteer and help, but we're small potatoes compared to what you've been doing. So kind of what do you find motivating about this?
Yeah. So what I find motivating is my background is in community building. I've done a lot around, I help coordinate the permaculture convergences in Northern California, the building resilient convergences. I co-founded a sustainable living education center in Oakland called Place for Sustainable Living. And that was all about bringing people together to learn about how to live sustainability and create community around the place that we were, and place stand for people making art, community, ecology. So I'm all about, sorry, there's sun. I'm all about connecting people. And I just see that there's such and more so I have a desire to create global community. I think if we look at where we're at right now as a species and our role in the greater ecosystem and on this planet, ecosystems on this planet, for me, there's a sense of stewardship and there's a role that we play. And I think that, that our events create a space for people to feel more connection and a sense of belonging, community, and to know that they have support and there are people that they can lean on and turn to connect them to whatever their needs may be to further their work. I think that the time of being the lone wolf is over. We are as a global community, like we're meant to, we are connected and we're connected to other species as well. So I just see that there's value in that sense of interconnectedness. And I think I'm just driven too by seeing the amazing work that's happening in the world, and that we should be raising the visibility of what people are up to and getting people connected and getting people resourced in ways that they're not resourced yet. So people feel that they're valued and that they know that their work is needed and that they can continue momentum and that this work is necessary and we're able to continue to strengthen it. Because I do believe that I still hold on to the vision of what's possible for the planet, and having a world where that's going to be more regenerative and, where all different species can thrive. Even though right now things look pretty dire and grim, I still think that there's something that's possible. And I feel that there's a little hope when I come to the events and I get to meet people and I get to learn about a project and a person doing really phenomenal work. And I'm a natural networker and connector. And so I immediately want to help people that I meet to be like, oh, you should talk to so-and-so. Have you checked out this or that? And I send people in the direction that they need to get the resources that they need. And I just think that there's a lot of value in doing that.
Yeah, right. It is fun that the enthusiasm kind of it's contagious, it's like, and it's fun to watch people kind of feel like they found a community, it's like, oh, there's other people like me out there kind of stuff. I think that's exciting. I mean, those are my observations, but what are you seeing that participants in Regeneration Pollination appreciate about it?
Well, I think that they're like, I've heard people say, finally people speak my language. Even if they're from different fields, there's like something similar in the way that we speak about what we're passionate about, that people feel there's a greater sense of connection. There's an energy in the space that we create at our events that's contagious. People really feel that like warm, loving family vibe. We're relaxed. What else? Ask your question one more time. About
what are you hearing from the participants that they
that they're like so I could say like, and I'm sure too we have people who've come to our events who can speak to the value that they've gotten. Yes, Dave's baby is very adorable. But like Pam Campbell, who's our fiscal sponsor, right? She's come to our events, she's hosted our events, she's gotten a lot of value from participating because what we do furthers the mission of what Inquiring Systems is all about. And she's also received, I would say, clients, but new projects to sponsor, fiscally sponsor from coming to our events and being a part of Regeneration Pollination. we had somebody who's one of our newer partners recently come to our event on this previous event of last Friday or the Friday before that. And just out of that one session, her first session, she has 2 potential investors in her nonprofit. So people are getting, it may not be everybody that gets like from the first event that they go to and the 5 conversations that they may have, but it's amazing the types of resources people do get and the kind of support that they do get and that sense of community that they get from coming to our events.
Yeah, let me actually turn it over. Alan, you raised your hand. So.
Yes, thanks. So, hi, Lauren. Hi, everyone. I was a very early member of the Regeneration Pollination. I only made it to maybe 2 or 3 before I was carried off by a couple other things that are happening. I'm very widespread in my reach. I'm also trying to be a global connector. I've taken some 20 plus courses over the last 2 years, trying to figure out what's my right livelihood and how I can contribute to a regenerative livelihood. And what I've noticed is that in each one of these groups, each one of these circles and communities that I'm part of, they're all striving for something where we can all meet together and unify under a single place and chat and get to know each other. And I almost always will send out links for Regeneration Pollination everywhere I go. And so I'm hoping that people have come to you from my linking, but I still feel like there's something more left, something that's not yet there. And I'm wondering from your angle, what do you see as the evolution of Regeneration Pollination? What is it that you're trying to do beyond maybe having employees to help out with things? What kind of projects do you see happening in Regeneration Pollination?
Yeah, so with like one example is like with content creation, the lifting up of voices. We hope that we can eventually, highlight the people that are doing amazing work and have that shared on our social media and newsletter. But beyond that, we've talked about like bringing coherence to the movement. We're not trying to be like the thing of all things that connects things together, but we would like to at least think that we can have all the different big regenerating organizations and businesses like play with us to be like, this is like a hub to just make a connection. We're not necessarily like the platform. I think we've decided that we're not going to be a platform because there are so many communities that already have platforms, but we can highlight those communities as partners, assuming they partner with us and collaborate with us. So then we can just direct people and that people are able to find each other and connect and collaborate even more on those different platforms. But as a simple thing, we're just the space that's like the little node where people will come in and then go out, come in and go out, but that we can really figure out how to form partnerships with the, I say big players in regeneration, but maybe bring them together to work at like, how can we all support one another? I think the other piece of it too, we had our first pollinating partner pollination event in June. So working out how our partners can partner and collaborate with one another, aside from just partnering for regeneration pollination's sake and supporting regeneration pollination, like how can we continue to build community, but also strengthen collaboration within the partners themselves? Because our partners are all doing really great work. And some of our partners are communities. So have, regenerative changemakers. They became a partner because they were like looking to eventually do something like what we're doing for their community. And they're like, well, why don't we just invite our community to come to the events, and then the events be the networking event for the community, but then they'll get to meet other people working in regeneration. So that's some of it, but we're also open to it. We've been a mighty team of, at one point it was like the partners, we were like 5 on the core team, and we've increased to 7. And then we've kind of had fluctuation with people coming in and out of the, being an advisor and coming to our planning meetings, but we're always open for people that want to contribute and steward something. So what we're doing now is not fixed. And so if people have some really brilliant ideas and visioning for us, I think we're really open to that. It just takes resourcing and capacity to further that. But there's still, there's still a lot of potential in terms of what we're capable of and contributing to the greater regenerative movement and to the people working on regeneration at large.
Yeah, Alan, did you have like niches in mind that you were thinking of? What kinds of insights did you think of?
Yeah, so from my perspective, I would like to actually be that unifying force. Whereas like a lot of these groups, they'll start off, they'll have a lot of love and admiration for each other, a lot of cross-pollination, as it were, between the different things that they're working on. But it fizzles out after this honeymoon period of everybody loving each other and going to the meetings, initial meetings and things. And as much as the group grows, there's still going to be this kind of like core group members who are the fanboys and the fangirls who are there forever. And so they'll try to keep the boat afloat. But eventually something happens and those groups start to fizzle away, or at least the engagement does. And so their numbers seem like they're growing because they'll have maybe even thousands of members at this point. But really, they're still at the same 5 or 10 folks that were there from the beginning and will continue to be there until they no longer have the will and forthright to continue. So I do understand where you're coming from, that they already have their established networks and their groups, but there's so many more that are still popping up, and only every once in a while maybe can make it to a meeting, Regeneration Pollination meeting. And there's something that's missing there for me that if it was just there, maybe the Regeneration Pollination or another group might happen where there's a chat platform, asynchronous contributions being made to this platform. Like you're saying, a publishing arm, potentially something like that. Maybe some kind of mini courses or courseware, learning community, things like that can happen from that community. And so all these groups, they're doing their own thing, and some of them are doing the things that I'm describing, but they're siloed and they're in their own little archipelagos, as David Witzel calls them. And from him and others, I constantly am hearing this voice of needing to unify. And yet we're just fracturing and bifurcating more and more, where, hey, let me create my own group here, my own group there on this special niche need, and those people who have the time and ability to come join us will be there. Whereas I'm like, why don't we form an umbrella organization where those interested groups can be nested underneath there and still have their unique conversations that they're trying to have, but all under one local myceliate. Somebody was in the group just prior to this where we came up with that term, maybe. What was that? I was just in a group where we were just talking about this stuff. The regenerators group from Laura Storm and the Regenerative Leadership Organization. And actually, I'm meeting with David Wilson at the top of the hour, or having a meeting with him talking. So yeah, anyway, I have this platform, access to a platform that I purchased a while ago, and I'm trying to make it a thing. It's still nascent, but essentially it combines every single tool I've seen out there into one centralized platform. And I purchased it as a lifetime deal, so I have unlimited membership access to it, unlimited members, unlimited storage, unlimited everything. And I'm just propositioning to different groups out there to see if there's any interest into this. So I know you mentioned earlier that there's some type of meeting that you have that's more governance modeled or decision-making stuff. So I'd be interested in that as well. But this tool that I've discovered, it's called Heartbeat, and the website is heartbeat.chat. I can just link it for everybody here. But yeah, it's something that I'd love to see happen.
Great, Alan. Thanks. Yeah, let's take that into the the RP sessions. Pam?
And I think I see Day's hand raised. I'm pretty sure, Day, you've been in conversations and breakouts during the social hour. You're probably going to want to talk to that too. I haven't been in those conversations, but I'm imagining you probably have something to say to that. Pam?
Hello, everyone. Lovely to see this group. Yeah, we, before Alan mentioned Heartbeat, I was going to mention Buddy Boss. because Buddy Boss is just the WordPress version of what I think you guys are talking about. And if there is one at no cost, then all the better. This one is not free. But what I wanted to address is I think that there is a real place for having a space that you know is going to be there on the first and third Fridays that you can just pop in when you need a rejuvenation and to hang out with your people. I know that I hear that often about folks. Anyone who comes to Regeneration Pollination has a lovely, wonderful time and talks to great people, and then feels just that rejuvenation that comes from sort of touching in with home base. And it is only not a dysfunctional home base, a chosen home base that you go back in. And so I don't think apologies are needed, or that there is anything missing necessarily. It's a beautiful thing, and I love the format. But that said, this desire for some sort of a platform where people can come, tell everybody what they're up to. And there's a group out of Johns Hopkins University that we're the fifth sponsor for that is using Buddy Boss, and they have done a beautiful job of utilizing this platform to give everybody a place to come and show videos or connect or touch in, or all of the elements you guys are talking about. So I just wanted to bring that up and also say thank you to Lauren for incredible work over these years. Really, you have, your energy keeps us going and flowing, and I want to thank you very much. And I'm going to have to bounce at 11:45, so I just wanted to say hey and thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pam. Eric, let's you got hand up, and then we'll go to Dave.
Yes. Hi, everybody. My background is finance, and I just want to share that what Alan described, as in you've got a whole wide variety of platforms and people connecting, and within the impact investing or regenerative finance world, you have exactly the same phenomena where you have 150 different platforms connecting or attempting to connect funders and specific projects. And the downfall of that, the short point is it doesn't work because everybody's trying to play their own violin, and the integration isn't there. And it's you know, it's my platform, and my platform will be successful at the cost of your platform. So it's a common, not common, but there's a relation, there's a link between that. The second point I want to make is the only way that you really are going to bring people together, other than this networking and hello, this is me, nice to meet you, and it's a wonderful, great meeting place. I mean, I love it. Okay, but you got to if you don't coagulate people around a specific, I am a regenerative farming person, this is my project, and where you are connecting with people doing the same thing in different parts of the world, and you can learn from each other and so on. And that's really, but that's a separate, how can I say, that's a separate function. What you're doing is, let's get people to meet each other, and the third thing is, which comes through, it doesn't matter which event like this I may join is funding, and finance is my background. And I mean, you can only live within your means. And so, not to make a long story of it, but the finance part in the philanthropic world and the regenerative world is what I'm working on. And if we don't fix that, then we're going to have this kind of conversation talking about funding till doomsday comes. So anyway, that's my input for the evening. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, the funding conversation. I'm waiting for you to fix that one for us. So, Day, you've got your hand up, and your hand's full.
Thank you. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, I get tired of listening to myself talk, so I will try to keep my comments brief. But I did want to just respond. I think, well, first of all, just to affirm, like Lauren, regeneration pollination is the dopest, and I think it's like the question of like, you know, does it need to change or something? It can be a living question for those of you that are really, you know, deeply in the doing of it, and I'm not going to peanut gallery on that. I would just say that I think it's okay to have a simple core function and to not try to do all the things. So just like letting it be what it is, it's like, I think, very beautiful. There are ways that it could scale or expand, and what I've seen a lot is that like what organizations are struggling with is like reimagining what growth looks like. And I think like the idea of growth as the promotion of an excellent working model rather than the expansion of the like empire of the organization or something like that is like maybe one of the little mental shifts. But speaking, Alan, to, you know, I think the core of what you're saying, where it resonates in me and kind of how I think about it at a systems level is here, once we've met, is there an escalation pattern? Is there an escalation pattern where we're channeling this energy then into the collaborations? Collaboration is a word that gets like thrown around a little, and it's kind of like, okay, great, you guys met each other. Good luck figuring it all out, how to actually work together in practical terms. And I want to be really clear. I don't think that latter step necessarily is like regeneration pollination's job or function, or should, like, you know, we're going to like dilute the mission or whatever. It's something that we more broadly very clearly need. And you know, I'm actually speaking with exactly. Thank you, Lauren. I've been in all of the CTA meetings, the Collaborative Technology Alliance meetings recently, and it's very much this conversation around, okay, how can we come together? We're developing these different platforms. How can we make them interoperable? How can we, you know, federate in some way, share users, share information, share resources, get our developers together, you know, share our APIs and on all of this. And another segment of that conversation is happening with a group called Kodu, a social systems lab out of Cape Town, and the people related to that, governance platforms and all of like the kind of tools, because this is like what it is we don't want to we're not going to create this like world of tomorrow by implementing the same kind of patterns as we did in the past, like hierarchical patterns, kind of like these like discrete orgs as reflections of egos or whatever. I think it's like, we're not going to bring it all under like one big umbrella org. We might bring it under one big umbrella set of values or one big umbrella set of agreements or something like that. And I just think the idea of like, what is an entity really? It's like kind of a place where we're meeting. So I could go on, but I will not. And I would just say, Ellen, if you're interested in following up one-on-one, I'm happy to like address a few practical things and share platforms as well. I extend the same offer to any and all also.
Hey, Christiana, welcome. Thank you for joining. Yeah, I mean, I confess that my, oh, sorry. Okay, good. Christiane, I just muted you, but come back in. I might have done it by mistake. Yeah, I confess that my attitude towards regeneration pollination has been that it is it's a daemon, you know, it's a connection daemon, and it just runs in the system and it connects people, and we want to have lots of people connected, and that will improve flow, and you know that's all it does, kind of. And so I've been trying to not have the platform layer kind of as part of that, and in fact maybe the role of the GRC would be is kind of helping create the connection so that you know the larger umbrella is easier, or some sense, you know, or that they're, you know, how, I'm not exactly how it's going to evolve, but that you know, that organizations know each other better, kind of because they've been connected through RP. And one of, you know, like one of the theory, and we haven't tested this one, I don't think particularly well. Lauren's done a little bit with Regeneration Canada, but you know, if we could get like 2 organizations to say we're really going to promote a regeneration pollination to our members, and they do it to the same one, they're going to cross connect their members, you know, and I don't know what comes with that, but now the organizations know each other better and they're linked better. So where we think in networking terms of closing the triangle, you know, like why introduce 2 of you to each other and we close the triangle, regeneration pollination does that dozens of times in an hour, right? So we're closing lots of triangles. And so to that extent, I think it's a, you know, kind of an efficient networking tool, but we could probably place it better so that it has more leverage. Anyway, these are my thoughts and dreams. Lauren, I'd be curious kind of what like what worries you, what keeps you up nights, as it were.
Well, I mean, as it's related to this work, I mean, similar to like I think Alan's saying too, like that this, I think it's just going to be inevitable with 8 billion people on this planet. There are going to be like a lot of projects and platforms and networks and everything that continue to pop up. It's a daunting task to figure out how do we connect people together. But like I've always, you know, like when I was living in California, like I've always had my eyes set on a bigger picture and creating global community. And that's just my role in service. I think that it's important that people are focused on local regeneration and restoration work. But I just see myself of service to the global community. What keeps me up at night is that we're gonna like, I don't know, it's not a matter of 1 step forward, 2 steps back, but that we're not able to move as fast, even as needed and necessary potentially with the state of the world and the trajectory that we're on, to really create that like glue to weave people together, so that you know, that's like in terms of transitioning, you know, to a different way of living that's going to be more holistic and healthy, to create thriving communities. Like we're not going to be able to do it fast enough. So those are kind of some of the things I'm thinking about, like collapse is like on the horizon, and how, you know, what are we actually going to be doing about it? And are we able to rally? Like the unification question it's a conundrum. How do we really unify as a species, global species, to work together to deal with the task that's at hand? Here we have our opportunity. You know, we may be just like this connecting agent to close triangles, and that there are going to be other places that people can do a lot of the on the ground collaborative work together. But I guess that, yeah, like people are going to continue to just do their own thing and not take advantage of what's available at, you know, now, and to continue buying into the old narratives and the old system and just continue operating as business as usual. I guess you could say like those are some of the things that keep me up.
These are big things to worry about, Lauren. Eric, you can get your hand up.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, I didn't realize it until a few weeks ago as part of my research I'm doing on my finance paper. Just illustrate the chance of networking and cooperating, there's a recent study that some entity in the UK, so don't even ask me for a link now, I mean, did, which is, and their finding is that there are more than 11 million social enterprises in one form or another operating in the world today. So that to me is hugely beautiful, because you tend to have tunnel vision and you only see this and that one, you know, around you, but a huge, I'd like to say, change movement there. What's missing in my book is the coordination. The up at night,
Eric, you're breaking up on me. Is anybody else having a problem? Yeah, we might. I think we've lost Eric.
So, sorry, can you hear me better now? No.
Yeah.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, try now.
In South Africa, we have power cuts. And when we have power cuts, then we have choppy internet connections. So I'm sorry. And so anyway, what I was saying is there's a huge change movement already, as illustrated with this 11 million social enterprises. And the real challenge is what is already there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great way to say it. What else? Who have any
I
other
just want
thoughts?
to ask a question, because I feel like I've been kind of watching the stream kind of meander through the forest here and listening to it do that. And I find myself curious about, are we with a question right now?
Not in particular. I don't think in particular. We're just kind of doing a backstory for regeneration pollination, and it was intended as an attempt to try to learn from our experience, and if we can make it better going forward, that too, kind of.
If I recall, the question is something like, is GRC like, you know, what's happening in this experiment of GRC? Like, what is it? Is it sort of delivering on the potential and promise? And I think, you know, based on what Lauren has shared, the answer is yes. But that's me. Thanks.
Yeah,
So maybe I could ask a question, Lauren, hearing Marna say that, do you feel satisfied? Like, do you feel on track, or are there any hesitations that you're holding at the moment?
Well, it's really hard to sort of track, you say, progress. You know, we've had an increase in attendance and more people from different countries, but we're still not able to reach certain parts of the world. And so, like, I'm holding this question around, like, how do we reach other areas where we're not able to reach? So it's not like as global north heavy, or America's heavy, you know, that we're able to have representation from different regions. So, like, I guess there's a dissatisfaction in that, like, we still haven't quite gotten there yet, you know, so we're connected to more people in Africa and the Middle East and Asia and Latin America. And still, like, we've had an increase in Australia, but like, there's challenge, I guess, a frustration in making the connections with some of the groups. And I don't know if it's, I need better contacts to connect me to other potential partners in these regions. So it's like support with the partnership building element, I think. And, you know, I don't know, like, sometimes regeneration pollination floats people's boat, but it doesn't float everyone's boat. And I've heard this before, but some people don't come to our events because we are such a we're for the general pool. It's for the greater global regenerative, overarching regenerative movement. And we include a lot of it, but we're not super niche focused. So the idea of having like the theme events is like, well, maybe we can start to attract certain crowd and connect people that way. But I also don't want to pigeonhole us and say, well, now we're just going to focus on regenerative ag. So I think there's a certain frustration in that, like, I'm not able to connect as many people as I can because people don't want to come because they do want to just focus on their particular niche. You know, so there is that like gap in the kinds of connections we are able to make in that regard. And then the other element is the funding piece is like, you know, it's so difficult to like get funding for community building, it seems. You know, how can we fund and really pitch the importance of doing this kind of work to foundations, to philanthropists, to potential corporate sponsorships, you know, you name it.
So that I can't help but ask Eric, since you're the only person I've heard mention that your experience is in finance. Is this something you can talk with Lauren about?
I indeed can, and I hope to be able to do that in the first quarter of next year. It's not because I know Joe Blow, who's sitting on a pot of money, who's looking for a place to put it. That's not my function. I'm looking at the system, and I'm busy doing things to actually change the way funding practice, grant making, and social enterprise support systems. You know, but if we don't solve, as I said earlier, if we don't solve the finance problem, then we're going to have a lot of talk about why we can't move at the speed we want to move, because at the end of the day, normally it is because I don't have enough funding. So work in progress, but everybody else involved is on my Rolodex for when I'm ready.
Great. That's
Wonderful.
exciting to hear. Thank you.
Let me go over to Christiana.
Yes, what keeps me awake at night is that, as you know,
Oh,
Oh, you muted. Christiana.
yeah, sorry about that. Apologies. What keeps me at night is the fact that I would like to revitalize an empty Greek village. And I wrote in the chat that this pilot, and pilot means that we are almost certain that we can make mistakes because it's a pilot, it's not a proven thing yet. And then we want to do a pilot regenerative village, which means that we are going to look into making one first cell, one first community. Then we can do this as a living lab where we can invite the people from the corporates, the foundations, the farmers, the locals, the people that they want to help. So, and engage consciously on the fact that we are location and we are making an experiment. And we are going to take all kinds of good things out of that experiment. So that's what keeps me awake at night. I just wanted to mention that. And I think it fits the conversation here. And you see, the last thing that I want to say is that at 1798, we had a school that was called the School of the Muses, because it was calling upon the 9 muses of antiquity in order to educate the youth, which means holistic education, which means systems. And the first thing that was found in that school was a microscope. Can you see the connection? I'm just blabbling in here, but that's what keeps me awake at night.
Thanks, Christiana. Well, we've actually used up our hour. Are there any other kind of last reactions or thoughts or suggestions that people want to offer? Anybody that hasn't spoken, would like to speak?
Well, yeah, just seconding, really a good point of emphasis going forward is to just enable that anyone who is plugged in, that, again, just avoid trying to duplicate anything. That's going to be the key here. It's to really focus efforts on collaborating, because what happens is that, as many may have alluded earlier, that if everyone's just doing their own groups and such, all you're doing, especially in this type of space, is you're just duplicating overhead. So if really that other groups relate to Regen, if they were able to piggyback on the overhead we have, then of course, I think that would be the ideal path forward. So we don't have to duplicate every time we have a new group or anything, or a new topic or a new subject area.
Yeah, thanks. Those are good words of wisdom.
Was there anyone else that wanted to say anything?
I just want to say thank you, David and Lauren and all. I appreciate what you do. This is a valuable service and community, and the pollination is spreading. And I'm grateful to be one of the little seeds that are floating around in the cosmic whirlwind that is right now for all of us. So thank you, Lauren. Thank you, David.
Hey, thanks, Joe. Well, let's see. There's the next Regeneration Pollination is this Friday. I'm
Yes.
hosting. It's the GRC Regeneration Pollination, part of the GRC at 3. So it's 5 p.m. Pacific. So everybody come, bring lots of friends. We'll have a great
Yes.
time. Lauren, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, and as just a final, screen sharing paused. How? Hold on one second. Resume share. Ah, that's weird. I'm not able to get the screen. Sorry, I just had like one more slide I wanted to show. Let me try. There we go. Last slide. There we go. Come to our events and bring a friend or two. The more the merrier, of course. And for those of you who are not a partner or new and interested in partner collaborating, please reach out to me. Our email info@regenerationpollination.earth, and support, because your support is super valuable. So thanks everybody for coming, and we love to see you at one of our next events.
Thank you both.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.